Hello and welcome back. So in this video we're just going to try and finish off some of this head here. So there's numerous ways to do this. We're going to go into edit mode. We'll start by just kind of trying to complete a loop and see how difficult or easy that will be. So I could try and bring this around here, but it's hard to know how many verts are needed and exactly where to go. So the easier one to start with is this one here. So I was going to fix this a little bit first. So these, you can see there's sort of a dip here in the forehead. So this vert here needs to go forward on Y a little bit, and so does that one. So I can select those four there. Now I won't be able to do all four all the way around, but we'll give it a go. So I can bring that to there, and if I look from above here, that looks fine. And I'm going to extrude it again. And now what I want to do is I'm going to press, I should turn them on, S and Y. So I'm kind of straightening these, actually scaling them on the Y axis. So they're a bit flatter. Now, how do I know how many to do? I don't. So I'm trying to not have too many vertices, because too many vertices will, result in it looking bad. But I don't want too few because I won't get enough detail. So now let's have a look at what we've got here. So these and these need to come out further. These definitely need to come out further. And you can see that the curve is off here, so so we have to get sort of a simple curve to the rear of the head, or it'll end up looking very strange indeed. And the reason, so if we just keep extruding this around, basically we'll end up with a curve, like a convex curve, over here as well. So. Okay, so we'll look from the front in this one. So over here, I'm going to try and match up. So I have a set of verts here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So by the end of here, I want that to match. So I'm going to go extrude 1 to match here, 2 to match that one, to match that one, and that one. I'll have another one come from here. And then I have a number coming across here, but I can always add in loop cuts for them. So I'm just going to stretch this out. Now that's a very big gap, so we'll end up cutting in here. But for now, that's not too bad. Now you can see these have separated. And that's because I didn't have them all selected. So let's do that again. I'm going to turn on clipping to make sure I stay into the center. So let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We do another one to here, and then we paste ourselves out a good bit. Okay, so that's sort of our first step to sort of bring this across here, and then we're going to try and hook these up. So I'm going to go 1 and then 2. I'm going to try and see where they are here. So in wireframe mode, they're flat with the ear. So I need to go G and then X. So that should be, let's say, behind the eye. And G and X, and that's going to be kind of halfway. And we may find that that curve is too extreme, yeah. So I'll bring that back. I'll bring that back. And then I'll try and join these ones here by going edge, bridge, edge, loop. And these ones here, they need to go a little bit further back on Y, a little bit further back on X, and this needs to go further back on Y. Okay. And I'm only doing, like, I will have to fix that. That's not correct, but I'm just trying to match it by my eye. So I can see here that's wrong, but we'll get there. Okay. So where do we go next? Well, the rest of it's sort of filling in the gaps. There's a vert here that will be helpful. We can kind of use this almost as like our jawline. So this is correctly shaped for this view, but as you can see over here, it's in the wrong place. So we're going to have to go G and X for this. This will give us our quite square jaw that this character or this person has. And again, I can select all of these and then select my corresponding verts and use a bridge edge loop to join them all together, and then just select 4 of them and press F. I have this vert here I want to extrude, so again I'm going to put that there, and then I'm trying to match the existing geometry. Excuse me. And again, I'm trying to just position these to reflect the fact that this is kind of round and not going in straight lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll use our bridge edge loop for that, and then we can fill this guy in. Okay. So not too bad. Now I'm going to take these guys here and I'm going to extrude them just a little bit. And I'm going to move them in here just a little bit, just to kind of get our curve for our jawline. And again, this one's going to extrude out, down, down, down. And again, on this side, we're just going to try and reposition this. Okay, and then we can complete our kind of jawline here. And again, we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, edge, bridge, edge loop. Oh, what did I do wrong there? Edge, bridge, edge loop, and then face. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 coming down here, so let's see if I can extrude them. So I'll take that there. Now that's not going to work, but we'll worry about it in a minute. And you can see I've gone over the edge, so this needs to move inward. So this is going to look a bit strange in 3D, but we'll do our best here. I'm going to try and follow the geometry here at the back, even though it's not real to what's here. So I'm going to extrude that down. Rotate it a little bit, and then to here. So I'm following this bit here. I know I'm kind of missing ones there. Extrude and extrude. So again, I'm going to try and reposition some of these. They're oops. Again, we're trying to catch the ridge of the shoulder, if that's a correct phrase. Okay. And then do the same here. Again, this will need some sort of fixing, but I can at least join these few together, try and get a starting sort of solid point. So again, edge, bridge, edge loop. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and press F. Now I'm going to turn off my reference images just for a minute so I can have a look around. So it's not disastrous, but it's not great. Now I have quite a bit of geometry here at the back of the ear that I need to sort of fix. I'm going to kind of pull out this earlobe a little bit so I can get at the geometry behind. So I'm going to press G and X, bring that out. Okay, and then this geometry here actually needs to come out a little bit as well. So this will be interesting to try and get it to work. So I have how have I made this? 1, 2. Okay, so this guy here actually should be closer to this, and that should let me go 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll be sort of the beginning of the earlobe. And then if I go 1, so I'm going to add a loop cut in here. I should be able to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then these 4 connect. Nope, they don't. So these 4, so I'll turn that one off. Connect. So that's a face. Okay. Then I'm going to add in a loop cut here. And again, that will allow me to go, so I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I've got 2 additional ones here. But if you remember, we had a method of dealing with them. So I'm just going to move them on the y-axis. And then select those 2 and press F. So I've created the face there, and then I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and fill that in. And you need to be careful with this that it's not kind of folded over on top of itself. Okay. Now, so again, I'm going to add a loop cut in here. This is just out of convenience to, you know, the geometry that I have. There isn't necessarily the correct number of vertices or in the correct place either. It's just to give myself a starting point. So I'm going to do a loop cut through here, and then I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've got that bottom piece done. These 2 can move in a little bit. Let's go those 2. So you can see at this point I'm not using sort of the reference image at all. I'm just using sort of a vague understanding of human physiology, which I have to say is limited. Okay, so that's where we've gotten to so far. So it's not the worst, but far from the best. And now this area here is quite straightforward to fill in. There's a little bit of messing at the top of the ear, but there's a number of ways to do it. This is probably the easiest way to start. So I'm going to take this one here, turn back on my reference image, and we can see that this is a bit high, kind of above the hairline. So I'm going to select those 2, and I'm going to extrude them out and out again, and I'm sort of trying to match what's going to be coming up here, and then again I'll scale it in a little bit, rotate it that way, and you can see this now will allow me to do that. I'm going to take these 2, extrude them that way, and scale them, rotate them, and do that, and then this will let me fill this bit in here and that bit in there. And now it's about trying to figure out what's the easiest way to fill these in. So I can press 4 there and press F. That's quite a big face to make, but it does leave me with, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a triangle, which is not ideal. But I can cut that in half because some of those faces were too big, and then we'll do that, and we're left with a triangle. And so I'm going to loop cut through there with that triangle and fill that in. Now we can use that to check the position of our forehead here. So, okay, again, not the best set of results in the world, but not too bad. I could have left that as a triangle, but again, it would just stop me from loop cutting at a later date. Now you can see he's got it looks like a swell here in his head, so we'll fix that in a bit. But like I said, we're getting the sort of the basic sort of setup for now. So I'm going to take those two and just look from the top, and I'm going to extrude them out to about there, and we'll look from the side again. We'll scale them down just a little bit, and I'm going to join these, even though it's a vast area of real estate. I'm going to do that, and I'll put in a loop cut in that one and move it out on X. Okay, again, that's going to leave me with, I can extrude this up. Hang on, I need to do that. So I can extrude that up and scale it in. Just going to rotate it a little bit so I can get my quad there and my quad there. And then in a similar way to how I had this one here, I can choose to simply loop cut here, and then I'll be left with 4 for each of these remaining faces. And we're nearly there, so I'm going to extrude this to here, and that needs to go that way. So we've got face and face. Again, I'm going to turn off this reference. Just going to move this by eye a little bit. And so the last bit we have left to do is the back of this ear. So in the same way I moved some of the ear forward, now I can always move this back. I'm going to just take this kind of top lobe of ear and move it out a little bit. And that's simply to give me access to these guys here. And I need to, in the same way, finish off sort of the... So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a face there. And then this. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to deal with this. I've slightly too much geometry there, but again, if you remember, we had a couple of little tricks we could do. So I can bring these down and then select those two and press F, which is like sort of an inverted face. And I'm going to be very bold, and I'm going to select that one and that one. No, it's that one and that one. And I'm going to merge them. So I'm going to go vertex, merge at last, which is the last one I selected. So now I've got 1 and 2. So I'm going to extrude this one upwards to there, and I can press F and fill that in as a face, and then connect those ones there, and again it's a very big area. I gotta put in one last loop cut. Well, I tell a lie, it won't be the last one. Press F, and then I want to loop cut to there, so that's an odd cut, so I won't do that. I'm going to delete this face in here and see if I can make this a little more elegant. So I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to loop cut here and then fill these in. And maybe I can do that and give myself better results. So I can go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've got a face there. 2, 3, 4, and a face there. Okay, so this is my guy. Now I'm going to just tidy him up a tiny bit with, I'm going to use an editing tool called proportional editing. That's a very nice tool. I don't need both views for this, so I'm going to close that one. So this is it here. So there's different types of fall off you can get. So this is, I'm just going to leave it at the default smooth, and I'm going to turn this on. And what this allows me to do is when I grab something, I get this white circle, and it determines how much of the geometry, the associated geometry, will move with it. So if I determine that this is too far out here, I won't just be moving one vertex in, I can move in a few, and it'll give me a better, when you're doing sort of organic modeling, it gets you definitely much better results. Okay. So, there's a few things we want to look at. So we've got this seam in the middle of his nose. We kind of discussed that a little bit in class. So if I look at it from the side, I could probably move that, turn off my proportional editing, move that a bit more forward. And that will flatten his nose a little bit, so it'll be less noticeable as a seam. We can take that guy there, move that back a bit. Take those guys, and again, it's about trying to sort of flatten the two middlemost, not flatten, but the two middlemost verts. To kind of rid ourselves of a seam going down the middle of the face. Now, am I moving the right ones? I am. So that's definitely better. It's not perfect, it's definitely better. So let's have a look at the forehead here. We'll try and do something similar. So we'll move these more in line. And this should get us a better look to the middle of his head. So again, we still have a sort of it's flat and then it falls off. So these two here need to move a little bit forward, and then if you do that, it's like a dominoes thing here. If you move too many, you'll get kind of mixed results. Okay, so that's the starting point for our sculpt, and we can fix some of the minor issues that will determine how good the rest of the modeling is. So I'm going to start sculpting after this and see how much detail we can get into the model, and we'll use this as a kind of a library piece. We'll build on this in the future. So there's loads more to do. Obviously the eyes are at a very basic stage. The whole thing is just a you know, a scaled, proportioned piece of clay that we can start modeling now. Okay, so we'll leave that for there.